I'm frequently asked, how do I explain the California Per Diem Interest Disclosure form? But before I tell you exactly how to explain this to a borrower, you need to understand what this page is trying to say. The easiest way to put it is that this page tells the borrower that they owe interest to the lender the day lender wires the money to the escrow company, not when escrow actually closes. Allow me to expand on this. Let's say the loan gets wired to the escrow company on November 15th. That means the borrower owes interest to the lender starting on November 15th to the end of the month, November 30th. Pretty simple, right? But here's the catch. The borrower pays interest the day the lender wires the money to the escrow company, not the day escrow actually closes the loan. Once escrow receives the money from the lender, they then need to essentially rewire the money out. Escrow needs to send the money they receive from the lender and send it to who needs it, whether that be the current lender the borrower is paying off, also known as a refinance, or if they need to wire the money to the seller of the house that they are buying. Keep in mind, escrow always does their best to do this process the same day. Their goal is to always close the loan the same day they receive the wire from the lender. However, closing the loan the next business day after they receive the initial wire is regular practice. So if escrow can't close a loan the same day they receive the money from the lender, then the borrower pays interest on a loan that isn't even theirs yet. Where this can become a big problem is if the lender wires the money to the escrow company on a Friday, but the escrow company doesn't close the file until Monday. Therefore, the borrower has to pay 3 days of interest from Friday to Monday on a loan that isn't actually theirs yet. The same scenario happens if the escrow company receives the money the day before a holiday. So, in our example above, if the escrow company receives the wire from the lender on Friday the 15th, but escrow wasn't able to close the loan until Monday the 18th, the borrower owes interest on November 15th, even though they don't even own the loan yet. And this is obviously a problem. And now that you understand the problem, you can now guide the borrower on what box to check that you see on the bottom of the Per Diem Interest Disclosure form. The question now is, what box needs to be checked? The short answer is, it depends on if there's a time pressure for the loan to close. So let's talk about the two options that you see that the borrower can choose from on the bottom of this form. The first option usually states, I elect disbursement of my loan proceeds to occur on any day but a Monday, or I request loan proceeds to be distributed within 1 day of the funding date. This may be worded a little bit different from lender to lender, but you should now be able to understand what they're trying to say when reading this box. By checking the first box, the borrower is instructing escrow to fund on a day that will prevent any extra days of interest being paid before the loan is actually closed. Essentially, they don't want to risk the money to be wired on a Friday or before a holiday, so there isn't a chance that they pay any unnecessary interest over a weekend or holiday period. So it should seem apparent that all borrowers' best choice is to check the box that prevents them from paying any interest over a weekend. Who wants to pay extra days of interest without actually having the loan closed and in place? But this isn't always going to be the borrower's best choice. So now let's talk about the second box that you see on the bottom of the disclosure form. If the first box prevents a loan from being closed on a Monday, then the second box states that the borrower is okay with the loan closing on any day, including a Monday. By checking this box, the borrower understands that there is a chance a loan can be wired out on a Friday but not close until Monday, meaning that they are willing to chance that they may be responsible for interest over a weekend or holiday period, even though the loan won't be closed until Monday by escrow. So here are a couple of scenarios where the borrower may purposely choose to check the second box. Imagine if the borrower has a rate lock that's about to expire and the loan has to close by Monday at the latest, or a day following a holiday to keep their interest rate the same. Checking the first box could delay this and allow the rate lock to expire, causing the borrower to have to pay a higher interest rate and therefore a higher monthly payment. Another scenario where it would be of the utmost importance that it funds on a Monday or after a holiday is if the purchase contract has to close on that Monday or after a holiday. In both cases, a borrower should know if timing is of the essence. So, how do I explain this document when I am at a loan signing? I simply say this. This form says you have to pay interest the day the loan gets wired. So if you don't believe that your loan needs to fund quickly, then I point to the first box and I say, you want to check this box because it says you don't want to be responsible for any additional days of interest, even if it means delayed closing the escrow. If you believe that your loan needs to fund as soon as possible, or perhaps you have a rate lock that's expiring and you have to close by a certain date, then I'll point to the second box and I will say, then you want to choose this box, as this box says you want to fund as soon as possible and there may be the extra days of interest you'll be responsible for. This will cause either one of two responses. Let me call my loan officer, or they already immediately know that a time is of the essence and they'll check the appropriate box. Once again, we cannot give advice, but we can be educated on what each box means. Notice how I simply read what each box means and I let them make the decision. And this is what separates a good and bad loan signing agent, understanding what each box means. And now that you know what the California Per Diem Interest Disclosure says, you're one step closer to being an expert loan signing agent. Be sure to subscribe to my email list at loansigningsystem.com to get regular loan signing agent tips and practices just like this. Subscribe to my YouTube channel and be sure to like and leave a comment today. And when you're ready to take your loan signing agent career to the next level and make great part-time income, be sure to get my loan signing system course by clicking on the link on this video. I'm Mark and I look forward to helping you become a successful loan signing agent.